Welcome everyone to episode 29 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. Now I'm here with one half of an Orlando band that I've known for a while now, from playing the circuit quite a bit. They're really interesting band for a couple of different reasons. For one thing, there are a lot of female-fronted bands in the area, but one thing I noticed about this band in particular is the lead singer. She was actually a very good guitar player as well. You do have a lot of girls who play guitar, but not quite. There aren't a lot who quite play the way she does. And so I was immediately impressed with that. And now, of course, we have two of the four, along with drummer Oskar Garcia and guitarist Dennis Burns. We have April Rose and Justice Maynard here on lead vocals and bass, respectively. Interesting thing about these two. Not only are they a couple on stage, but off as well. So, I mean, you get that different dynamic in there as well. And, as it turns out, my history goes back a little farther with Justices than you might realize. So, without further ado, please welcome one half of Auditory Armory, April Rose, and Justice Maynard.
Hey everybody.
This is cool. Now, I am here live at the Auditory Armory compound. This is amazing what we have here. Because I think you guys and Dennis live together.
Yeah,
right?
Oscar's the only one who doesn't live with us, so Dennis, Justice, and I all live together, along with Brian, our other roommate. So.
Gotcha. It's a shame you guys listening can't see this. They have a full setup right here. Definitely some of the windows blacked out, but which is fitting for your band. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I mean that in
the
the
neighbors are already scared,
yes.
so that's why.
Who are these strange metal people living to be next door?
We have like skeleton flamingos on the lawn, so
it's great though. I'm seeing stacks, amps, and drums, full setup here. It's great. How long has Auditory Armory been together?
Auditory Armory has been together, I guess, officially since 2010, so it's been a while. It started off, I had another drummer, Mike Owens, with me, and it was mainly just me and a drummer. It was supposed to be more of kind of like a Dresden Dolls acoustic kind of dealio. And then Mike moved away, and then I got Oscar. So Oscar and I played together probably for Justice, 1 to 2 years, just us. And then we were all actually in another band in the scene, metal, like a symphonic metal band called Fields of Glass. And I played electric cello in that. Dennis played guitar, and Justice actually played guitar in that band. Oscar did play drums in that band later. So we had that, and Dennis was like, I kind of want to play guitar on your stuff. Let's see how that goes. So Dennis started playing with us. And then we were kind of like a three-piece for a little bit. And then Justice was like, well, I'm at the shows anyway, and I'm just getting drunk at the bar, so I might as well do something. But we already had two guitarists, me and Dennis, so that's when he decided to learn bass. And became really, really, great at it, which is awesome. But so then as a four-piece, probably since 2012.
Very cool. Very cool. That's interesting that you learned bass just to be in the band. You hadn't played before that?
No, he's an amazing guitar. A lot of people don't realize, but when Justice was in Fields of Glass, Justice is a really good guitar player, really, really good. So he picked up bass and did lessons online and watched a bunch of instructional videos, and now he's got his own style with the tapping and everything, and he's really good. So yeah, that's kind of how it started, and now it's progressed. From, of course, we started off as actually people describe us as kind of a heavier White Stripes kind of deal. It was just the two of us, and then now it's a full-on rock band, which is cool. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense because Justice, I mean, you definitely play bass like a guitar player. You're a very melodic bass player, so that makes perfect sense. A lot of finger picking, so it's definitely a unique style of playing bass. So I noticed that right away.
Well, thank you very much.
I definitely want to preface this right away, and for those of you who might not know, and I didn't put two and two together when I first met Justice.
I didn't either.
See, Justice is a former professional wrestler. And I didn't know this at the time, but he used to wrestle for a promotion called IPW in St. Petersburg, Florida. I am from St. Petersburg, Florida. When I was in high school, I would go to IPW shows on the weekends all the time, and I believe at the Florida WrestlePlex is what they called it, over on 35th Street. And Justice was one of my favorite guys to watch because he had such a unique character. I've always been attracted to like guys like Sting and Jeff Hardy, guys who sort of like have that painted look about them. He had he was just called Justice, just no last name, and he had a really cool character, kind of very very Sting like, but he was a cruiserweight, so he would he would be a high flyer. And he was one of my favorite guys to watch. Now, fast forward all these years later, I'm seeing Auditory Armory, and I was really impressed with the way he played, with the way the band played, and I saw like a post he made on Facebook, and it was like an old IPW DVD, and I was like, and then I'm like, oh my god, you're IPW Justice.
Oh yeah, like I think we posted
because obviously he painted his face, I wouldn't have recognized him, otherwise. But yeah, that blew me away right away.
Yeah, that was really cool. I think I posted like a link or something on Facebook, or one of them did, and then you commented like, "What the heck?" Like, I can't believe it. And Justice was like super thrilled with that.
Because I remember you, but I didn't put two and two together either. Yeah, I kept in one of my first ones. I was like, man, that guy looks familiar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know why. Someone's like, I don't know.
I mean, because I
was like, oh my god, now I know. I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have expected you to remember me from back then. I was just another guy in the crowd. But
absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, who's this dumb kid chanting "shut your mouth" or whatever. So, but it's kind of cool because obviously, I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan. Anyone who knows me knows that. So it was pretty crazy to imagine that, obviously, and I would love to get in more depth about your career, but I didn't know that you were a musician as well. Were those always something you did simultaneously? Did music come before wrestling?
No, before wrestling, I was a musician when I lived in Louisiana, and I played in a number of metal bands there, and then I just kind of stopped after I moved here to Florida. So
you're from Louisiana originally?
Originally from West Virginia.
Okay.
And I moved to Louisiana. I was there for a while, and then like '91 I moved here. So when I moved here, I kind of stopped playing music. I didn't know anybody, blah blah, and it just kind of faded off and gave up. And then a good friend of mine started coming over with his guitar, and and I got back into it, and all of a sudden I'm playing guitar in Filthy Glass, and then I meet her, and now I play in her band, and so
gotcha.
It just kind of sparked all that back up.
Now, did you move down here to train, or when you were ready to start working, or?
I just moved out of Baton Rouge because the economy is very bad there, so yeah. I moved here where it was better at the time.
Gotcha. And, who did you train with, by the way?
Wrestling?
Yeah.
I trained in Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For what was at the time CCW.
Oh, okay.
And Bam Bam Mancuso was my trainer.
Okay.
And, Frankie Capone, Tony Mamaluke.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of guys that now that I literally trained me because that's where they worked out. So
nice.
I took advantage of them just training and got in the ring with them and pretty much got the crap beat out of me. But I learned a lot of stuff by working with these veterans. That taught me a lot of stuff.
Gotcha. It's so interesting how the worlds of pro wrestling and rock music, kind of are very similar. They definitely attract a similar audience, hence why I was there. But now, April, going back a little farther, how long have you been playing music? Did it start when you were a kid?
Well, yeah, my dad is always saying when we were younger, but he's saying more like ballads. Like he was more into like Frank Sinatra, Engelbert Humperdinck, Matt Monroe. I started playing guitar probably when I was 13. It was kind of like I had played piano when I was younger, but then we stopped. So I knew how to read music already. But when I was 13, like one summer, my mom's like, you know what? I think you should take music lessons. Like, what do you want to play? So, I was starting to get into rock and everything. So I was like, I want to play drums. And my mom said, no, that's just not happening. It's too loud. Like, it's expensive. I don't want that crap in the house.
She didn't want the drum set in the house?
No, she didn't want the drum set. She's going to just be too noisy. The neighbors are going to complain. So then I was like, I also like classical music a lot. So my mom, I tell my mom, I'm like, well, I want to learn violin. And she's just like, that's too like old-fashioned of an instrument. So my mom is just kind of like deciding stuff for me. And then she's like, my mom, said, well, what about guitar? And I was like, well, yeah, I started, like, at the time I was, like, really into, like, new metal stuff, so I was, like, Korn, Kitty, and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'll learn guitar. And she's like, you will start with acoustic. That way you can accompany your dad when he sings, and you could play guitar behind it. So I started taking lessons. Well, I used to live closer. I lived in Hunters Creek before, so I took lessons at Jammers in Kissimmee with Clint Stewart. So I started playing then, and it just like, I don't know, it became like a passion for me. Like I really like took to it. I always liked music, and I was like practicing all the time. And that's, kind of where I came in, and all of a sudden I studied music in college, and that led to that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Were there any bands or artists earlier on that really made you gravitate towards rock music when you were younger?
Definitely, since I was, like growing up in the 90s, I'd say definitely more of the grunge kind of alternative scene definitely influenced my playing and my attraction to rock music, like Stone Temple Pilots. Alice in Chains is a big one. Alice in Chains and Soundgarden are probably the biggest bands for me. Smashing Pumpkins, Placebo, those type of bands.
Definitely. Definitely. Were there any women in particular that you identified with or wanted to emulate? Or
it's funny, because a lot of people are like, oh, you must like Joan Jett and Pat Benatar and all this stuff. But actually, like the female, I would say the strongest influence for me was actually Tori Amos.
Yeah.
And I guess like when I play acoustic, I think that comes out more. But like her songwriting, her honest lyrics, that like really resonated with me. So they weren't like, I guess technically rock artists, but Tori Amos was the biggest influence for me. Kate Bush and Bjork.
Sure.
Yeah, were the female artists that really like I connected with.
That makes a lot of sense, and I can definitely hear that in your music, because those girls aren't necessarily like hard rockers, but they have that quirky sensibility of they can get very avant-garde and very adventurous with the way they write, and it lends itself well. I think there is even a little bit of darkness to like what stuff Tori Amos plays, even though it's piano based.
Yeah, it's her early stuff is very dark, and I've always been like very attracted to that. So yeah.
Right. You also look at, even like you mentioned the 90s, I remember that was like big when you had like Fiona Apple on the radio.
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
Artists like that who, really, you don't really see a ton of that nowadays, and I'm not sure why that is, but there's a lot you don't see nowadays, and I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, right.
So that's, yeah, so it's hard to keep track of that, but that's cool. So in 2010 you started playing with this classical group, and so how did that all come about?
With Auditory Armory? Or?
No, before that, it was...
Fields of Glass.
Fields of Glass, that was
the symphonic metal band, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny, just, you run into people at shows, but how it happened was I had, in 2000, I would say 2007, 2008, I had started going to a lot of, like, local shows, and one of the bands that I had happened to catch was Fields of Glass, and I loved it. I was like, man, this is like kind of like Nightwish, Moonspell sort of, deal. And I was going to a bunch of shows, and that's how I met Justice, is actually at one of the shows. And then, eventually we started dating.
Right.
And they used to have an electric violinist. And but then she had just recently quit the band, and Justice said, hey, in high school April played cello a little bit, which I did. My main instrument is guitar, but I played cello a little bit in high school.
Me too.
Really?
Well, actually when I was younger, when I was in like elementary school.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No,
we should do something like a cello.
It's been so long, but but when I was 13 I picked up bass, so that was a good transition, I guess. But
see, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, bass was my first instrument actually before I started singing seriously.
Cool. I'm finding out stuff about you too.
Right. Oh, but this isn't about me. I want to hear more about you guys.
Oh my goodness. But yeah. So then I got an electric cello with the help of our friend Z, because I was like really broke at the time. But he's like, I can finance you a cello. So I got an electric cello, joined their band, and then it just like took off from there. And then we were a band until, what do you say? This is probably it's been 2 or 3 years now. Probably 3 years since we disbanded, but yeah, so that's how that came about.
That's always such a bold move in terms of like not only joining a band that's been together but learning a new instrument just to be in that band. Like, that's...
Yeah, because it had been a while since I played cello, and I was like, and then it was rough at first, but then I started, like, getting into it again. So.
Actually, I should correct that. No, you already played cello before, but
it had been a while.
After coming back to it,
yeah.
It was a while. But still, I mean, it definitely makes sense because you had that background in terms of it.
Yeah.
Does Fields of Glass have any recordings available, or...
We had an album, Origins, which may still be on iTunes. There's a couple, like, videos surfacing on YouTube a little bit, but I think there may still be one on iTunes, the Origins, that album.
Gotcha. Did you sing in that band at all, or?
Not really until the end, like in the beginning. Like, I don't even think on the album, I don't even know if I can't remember if I did record like minor background vocals. Toward the end, I started to get more involved vocally, but that band had 2 vocalists already, so I was we had Fenris. That's actually, I should say, that's actually how I started to find out about Fields of Glass. Is he was, I don't know if anybody knows Fenris, but he recently moved back from Montana, but he's present at a lot of mosh pits at shows, so he was like the mosh pit starter. So he was the one who gave me the Fields of Glass flyer, but he was the vocalist for that band, along with we had a singer and growler too, Jenny. Gotcha. So there was 2 things. That's why it was like Nightwish kind of, they had the 2.
Right.
But yeah, so I towards the end I did like more backup vocals, but yeah, not to start with.
When it ended up happening with that band, you said it towards the end. Did people just all like go do their own things, or?
Oh man, then we had I don't know if I should
creative
say.
Differences.
Yeah, so we'll just put it at creative differences.
Gotcha. All right, I'll
tell you the sidebar later, but
it's hard for 8 people to agree on everything.
Yeah, there was 8. I should say there was 8 people in that band. Towards the end, we only had 6, but yeah, there was 8 people in that band, and it was hard. Like, yeah, there was definitely some creative differences, so we kind of just decided to stop.
I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe it wasn't an amicable breakup. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into details, obviously.
No, well, half of this whole band was half of that band, and we're all still good.
Well, there you go. Yeah. That makes sense. 8, so it's down to 4, so that's convenient.
And at one time, we were doing both bands.
Yeah, there was a crossover.
That's right. Bands. Yeah, no, I remember.
There was a crossover.
Were there? Did you play in any bands before them? Or?
No, I didn't really. Well, in high school, you had your like fun whatever. In high school I had like this fun band, whatever. But it wasn't ever serious. We just like played for a little bit, and that was that, and jammed. But as far as like a serious band, no, that like Fields of Glass was my like first band, like being kind of
gotcha.
Serious.
Were you writing songs before that? Or?
Oh yeah, like I've always wrote like acoustic stuff. That's why I had wanted Auditory Armory to start like an acoustic thing, because I was like, I couldn't even fathom the fact that people would want to play with me, I guess. I was just like, I'm just going to do my thing. But I know I needed drums because I wanted, like, kind of have more of, that kind of accompaniment. But no, I've always been, like, since I've been playing acoustic guitar, I've always been writing, like, that kind of material.
Definitely. Justice, were you playing in any bands before you got involved with Fields of Glass? I mean, I know you were busy, in the ring, obviously, but growing up, before you started training, were you playing in any bands, or were you just kind of playing on your own?
In Louisiana, I was in a number of bands.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then, like I said, when I came to Florida, I kind of stopped playing music.
Right.
And then I met, I was friends with Fenders for years, and then I met Dennis and Eric, and Eric kind of fed into me to play guitar again. I started playing it, and then all of a sudden something happened with one of their people. They're like, hey, you want to play guitar for us? I'm like, sure.
Gotcha. I mean, you have a very, very almost like classical guitar style of playing bass. Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Well, when I first started playing bass, when I had the idea to play bass for her, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to play like all the guys that I've always enjoyed playing, even though I didn't play bass. I admired their style and everything. Victor Wooten, Anthony Crawford, Greg Stennett, even back to like, some of the older funk stuff. Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that too as a kid.
Bootsy.
A lot of funk when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I was very into like funk and hip hop, and I was like a b-boy when I was little.
Yeah, you used to be a break dancer.
I believe it. That makes sense.
And so when I started playing bass, I was like, I want to do what I've always seen these guys, fascinate me by. So that I just started studying little things of how they do these techniques and all, and I still do it all the time.
Sure.
And that's a never-ending learning thing.
Gotcha. I can definitely see that in your playing as far as having more of the, like mixing the progressive and like the jazz and R&B and stuff like that, and I definitely see it as far as that goes.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean, April, getting back to your acoustic stuff and writing, I've seen you play acoustically before, and I noticed there are a lot of songs you write that may not necessarily be Auditory Armory songs. You play it for your acoustic set. What are those things that you want to mainly keep as acoustic, or are you thinking about bringing them to the band? Or
no, I think I want to keep them acoustic. There's some things that I think, oh, maybe this would work for Auditory Armory, but I think how Auditory Armory has progressed now, like in the beginning of Auditory Armory, it probably would have worked more, but now we're a little bit heavier, a little bit more progressive. So I want to keep my acoustic stuff kind of very, I wouldn't say loose, but very like, I don't like count measures or this. It has a very like flowing, free structure wise. It's definitely not like, oh, verse chorus like that kind of deal. It's almost like telling a story, and I kind of want to keep that acoustic sort of like dark ambient kind of vibe that I have in that, and to express it in that way and keep that in the acoustic stuff. So it's probably going to be separate.
Very cool. Well, I mean, that makes sense because you mentioned like Tori Amos and Kate Bush and
see that I have
very
those
much
influences
in that realm
and I would like vocally I incorporate a little bit of that stuff into Auditory Armory, but as far as like song wise, I don't think it would work for the full band. Seeing like the kind of style that we're at now, but so I just keep it like acoustic. How
do you guys approach songwriting within the band? Is it usually do the other guys like come up with some of the riffs or
yeah. There's some songs like in our last album, The Awakening, like The Last Day, that was just something Dennis wrote. Like he had this guitar idea, and I actually don't play guitar until like the last half of that song.
Oh, okay.
That's like one of the few songs I don't really play guitar as much as. And then like on our new EP coming up, Tyrant, he came up with that riff, and then I just like, oh, I hear this vocal melody over that. So and then sometimes Oskar will here and there like have a suggestion for lyrics. So I'm definitely open-minded as to what the other members are bringing to the table.
You mentioned that one song where it's like you weren't playing guitar. Do you just sing or? I just sing, and it feels a little weird. Yeah, I was gonna ask, does it feel sometimes weird being up there without a guitar and just
definitely.
And
I definitely feel like when people ask me to sing and not play guitar, I definitely feel like naked. I'm like, I should be like behind a guitar, and I think I emote differently when I have the guitar and sing. I feel like I emote like stronger, more powerful when I have the guitar, and then when I
feel
like,
a little
just
more
sing,
in control.
Yeah, when I sing and just by itself, I'm like, oh, this is weird. But
or even those other parts where it's like there's an instrumental break. It's like, all right, what do I do? Do I dance? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I know. And me, I am so. I mean, this may offend some people, but I am so not a fan of girls dancing to metal on stage. I absolutely fucking hate it. I think it's the free. Can I curse?
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
We'll put an explicit tag on it. It's
explicit.
Fine.
I freaking hate when I see girls do that. It's like, it's not this freaking like we've seen a couple bands like that. Oh, it's power, especially in power metal. You see it, and like, oh man, it's so like it's jamming and it's heavy, and then the girl like does this
goes into a stripper routine. You're like, you just ruined everything.
You ruined the freaking song.
That takes you out of it.
Yeah, that takes me completely out of it. I'm like, I'm fucking done. I'm gonna drink.
I guess I definitely see to that point.
So yeah, during that time, I try to like headbang or do like something, but I'm not doing this sexy dance crap. Sorry.
There's not many times you don't play guitar.
Yeah, so I don't have to worry about that because there's not many times when, and if I do, it's for a shorter time. But yeah, The Last Day is that main that main
starts
song.
off with an acoustic, you know, it's just acoustic.
Right. I mean, you probably feel more in control, like, you know, with the guitar on, right? You feel a little more confident that way?
Yeah, I guess because I feel like, and I'm very comfortable playing guitar, so yeah, I think I do feel more in control. Also, going back to the songwriting thing, yeah, I'm very open. I think majority of the songs I come up with the foundation of. Like, I'll bring it to practice, and I'll have, like, hey, what do you guys think of an idea? Because how I, like, write songs is I don't, sometimes I have a riff, but mainly it's like a vocal melody line, and then I have, like, a guitar thing that goes with it. And then I just put down, like, a you know, foundation that's kind of bare, but it's got, like, a structure, and I've already have words, and then they, you know, the band makes it way better by, you know, adding their stuff or decorating it and adding on top of it. So
gotcha. So I mean, that makes sense to me as far as your acoustic stuff being what it is. It's more of a personal outlet. And
yeah,
have you done any recording with that, or are you planning on maybe?
No, I want to. Yeah, I plan
you got
to.
Anomaly. I mean, that's mostly acoustic.
Yeah, well, the first, like, I guess it's under Auditory Armory.
Right. Yeah,
it's acoustic.
Yeah,
that was mainly acoustic, but for my new, like, acoustic stuff, I definitely, I've been planning to record it, but I'm so focused with Auditory Armory, like, trying to release this stuff. As soon as, you know, we get more on that traction of releasing that, then I'm gonna record my stuff.
Yeah, have a little like solo EP out there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's perfect. And I know Justice has joined in on her, you know, with some of the acoustic shows. You occasionally pick up the bass and kind of fill out the sound a little bit. That's always awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy that, and, like, you know, I use a number of effects and whatnot on my bass to create you know, an ambient or a feel or a mood. To you know.
Like there are a lot of harmonics going on in the background. I've noticed.
I sometimes do harmonics, but you know, I do a bit of tapping, especially with the effects too, to try to, like, fill things in. You know, make it more musical, a little bit more busy, I should say. You know,
definitely.
And to create more of a mood. You know, and instead of just landing root notes, I feel like I could decorate some things also.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taking the bass and not using it really as much of a rhythm so much as just having it more melodic that way, and it's definitely a unique approach to playing bass, which I think is really, really cool. So I guess one of the other things I'm always fascinated by, obviously you guys are a couple. You're in a relationship. Are you guys engaged? Or,
engaged, yeah.
Gotcha. So what's that like, being in a band together and being in a relationship? Because it's like, I mean, if do you guys do you guys ever get in fights over songs or whatever? Or, like, how does that work?
A lot of people ask that, and it's really relatively easy.
Yeah,
it's really relatively easy. No, there's no problems like that musically. It's very easy. I enjoy it, you know, and
it's never like, I need space from you for a little bit. Let me go.
No.
I look forward to practices, and, you know, I enjoy it. And even when I do the acoustic stuff with her or whatever, and it's always fun.
Nice.
No, Justice is such a good musician. So and it's awesome, and we have a good dynamic, and I never think of it as like, I need space, but I do feel bad sometimes because I can be like a hard ass, you know. It's like, like, as far as like I'm sort of a perfectionist, so like when we play and I like something doesn't sound right, or he like makes a mistake, or I do this to the rest of the band too. I give him like this like look like what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on, like, and then I realize like, okay, I should calm down. I'm like, he's not just my bassist, he is my fiance.
Right. Do you find yourself being a little harder on him because you have that?
Yeah,
level
I'm definitely a lot harder on him than the rest of the band, and I feel bad. I'm sorry. Sorry, Justice.
I always ask her, does this, you know, because she's a brilliant musician and a brilliant songwriter, and I always ask, hey, does this sound good? Because I think her opinion on it is going to be better than mine.
Sure.
So she would know. So I just try different things out. What about this? No. This? No. This? Yes. That works. Yeah. Okay, then I'll stick with that.
Yeah. Well, there's the level of trust there.
Obviously. Yeah, exactly.
You have to have that, and it's cool that it's cool that you're able to pull back, like, okay, you don't want to hurt each other's feelings, obviously. That's a big part of the deal, too.
Like, sorry, that didn't come out good.
But at the same time, I see her as a teacher because, you know, she has a whole lot of knowledge, so she's going to know. So I just trust in, you know, especially if it's her song, then I go, okay, well, if that's what you think's best, then that's what's best.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's cool, especially like because like I couldn't imagine like especially if you guys were like touring or something, being together all the time. Do you ever anticipate like I don't know if I could be touring? Would you guys drive each other nuts or how would that work?
we do like mostly like everything together anyway.
Yeah.
So like I never like even think about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I guess because we might have a few people here who might not be familiar with your music. How would you necessarily describe the sound of the band?
Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, this is funny because we always take that quote from Airheads. You ever seen that movie Airheads?
Oh yeah.
And they're like trying to describe the music, and they're
Lone
like
Rangers.
Right. Yeah, and they're like exactly, and they're like it's power slop. Well, yes. No, it's. I mean, if I would just generically say it, I would just say alternative metal. That's our music. If I put a generic label on it, it's like I don't know. From an outsider point, how would you describe it?
I mean, I would describe you guys as having elements of prog rock in there.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Progressive, yeah.
Definitely. You mentioned ambient. There are some ambient moments in your stuff. Mm-hmm. Very instrumental heavy, but also very very vocal as well. Mm-hmm. I would say, because I think we were talking about this earlier, it's like almost not really gothic necessarily, but like there's definitely some darker elements to it, very moody, but it definitely works. Like you even compared your other band to Nightwish and other bands like that have females in it, but also are a little bit darker end. I can definitely see that, but also very aggressive and very like especially like I mentioned, the way you play guitar, you're a shredder.
Aw, thanks.
Like you go and really go for it, and that always fascinates me because like I see women who are musicians and women who play guitar, but like not many who necessarily try to go for that sort of thing. There are a few out there, and that always fascinated me, and it's like I wonder why that's seen as like a guy thing, quote unquote. I never really understood that.
Yeah, you're seeing definitely like an influx more of female guitarists, whereas in Orlando, and I guess like in general, but yeah, it's always been like male dominated, which is it's just kind of strange, to me because it's like they have hands and fingers just like anybody else does, right? Why can't they play? Right, I don't know if it's like, I guess when rock scene, it's always had this kind of machismo, I guess I would say, especially like in 80s rock.
That makes sense. A lot of testosterone going on.
A lot of testosterone. I'm thinking of like Manowar or some shit. No, but also like 80s in the metal and stuff too. Girls were just like they dressed up and they were groupies. They were the eye candy. Yeah, and that was they weren't like, hey, we can actually maybe play instruments, right. Except like we were, talking about like Lita Ford
or like Vixen, I think.
Vixen, yes.
Girl School.
And Phantom Blue, right?
Yeah, Phantom Blue.
Yeah, they're really so yeah, and they were really good. So there was bands here and there, but
also I think it might be the appeal of the music. You have a lot of women out there who aren't necessarily into hard rock and stuff like that. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe because it's seen as more of a guy thing. I guess, but it's always cool to see. To see more women in there. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. So what's next for Auditory Armory? You guys definitely have a lot of dates coming up. Are there any plans in the works? Anything the band has coming up that you wanted to share?
Yeah, well, besides the dates, which we can talk about, but
right.
Yeah,
and granted, it's possible people may be listening to this after those dates have already come and gone, but we'll talk about it anyway.
Yeah, well, I'll say it first. The next coming shows we have is I'm doing the acoustic thing with you, with Vertebraker.
That's right. As we record this, it is Sunday the 18th of September. It's funny, we didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I think you and I might have a little duet thing happening there later on.
We don't have to say what it is.
No, don't say what it is. I'll have to be a surprise.
But yes, September 23rd, there is a special duet between Jack from Vertebraker and me.
Yes. It'll be a very famous cover song that a lot of people will know, certainly from that era, and I will leave it at that. But you're playing an acoustic set there.
Yeah, I'm playing an acoustic set.
I know that you're also playing with Vertebraker later in October at Petrified Forest.
October 27th, and like a week before that, we're playing at Buchanan's again. October 14th with Murderfly, Martyrs Asylum, and Dark Summer. And then we've got October 27th. That's going to be really fun. The Petrified Forest. It's like Halloween. I love that. It's my favorite holiday.
Of course. You guys are perfect for that. Obviously, having, like I mentioned, there's a lot
the darkness.
The very darkness. Yeah.
And then November 12th, we're playing Kinkfest.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm so happy for you guys when I found out about that. That's a huge opportunity. So
yeah, I'm really, really happy about it, and I'm honored that like we were one of the bands selected to be on it, and it's a great lineup. I mean,
definitely. I think Mechanism is on there, and I'm not
Filth also. Yeah, Mechanism.
Yeah. Bobby, former podcast guest, by the way.
Yay, love you.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, Mechanism, Auditory Armory, Filth. Breathing Theory, Murderfly, Yugoslavia. That's the one band, and then American Party Machine. I may be missing somebody else, but I think that.
I love that name, American Party Machine.
Yeah, they're a fun band. Yeah, so we've seen them a couple times.
I would hope so with a name like that.
I know, like you can't disappoint.
I wouldn't want American Party Machine to go on there and be like very serious and be like,
it's a pretty fun show.
We're American Party Machine. This is a song about when my dog died.
All right, exactly.
So, wow, this is misleading.
Anticlimactic party.
Right. It's not a good party, but I'm sure. I apologize if you guys are listening. I don't know your music. I'm sure it's great. So
yeah,
I love that name. So, but you got a few big name headliners on there as well, right?
Evanescence.
Yeah.
Sick Puppies, Hell Yeah, In Flames. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
It's gonna be a good show. Yeah, Evanescence. Speaking of females in rock, Amy Lee.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Legend.
Because,
yeah.
Right, and it's perfect because there are two female-fronted bands playing that.
There you go. Yeah.
And us. So.
Absolutely. So many great things coming up, especially if you're in the Orlando area. Mainly concentrated here, but I know you guys have ventured out as well.
Yeah.
Definitely check out Auditory Armory. Where can people find you online?
Well, of course, our Facebook and www.auditoryarmory.com. It's our band name. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and music-wise, like we're on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon, CD Baby. So, yeah.
Very cool. And you have a Facebook page for your acoustic stuff as well?
Yeah, it's facebook.com/music by April Rose, because I guess April Rose is some kind of model already, so I couldn't use that. Yeah.
It's a lot to type, but it's worth it, all right?
Music by April Rose, yes.
Yes.
That's my acoustic stuff, yes.
Very cool. Justice, is there any of your old matches online somewhere?
If you look on YouTube, you can find some of my matches online with like Mikey Tenderfoot from like CZW when we did CZW up there in Philly.
Yeah.
I still think sometimes you can find me and Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
From when I worked TNA in Nashville.
So cool.
I think some of me and Naftali is
I remember
online. Maybe and when Mikey Tenderfoot was staging Aki.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know him.
And if you look hard enough, you can find it. And it's a shame that when I was working before YouTube was really a thing. So there's not a whole lot on there. But if you dig enough, you can find all the IPW, all the DVDs that they released back in the day. You can find them. They used to sell them FYE and all that.
I remember taping their syndicated show on on like UPN 44 back in St. Peter.
That was on for like 2.5 years.
I remember that. And Ron Nemi is the guy.
He's a good guy. He's hilarious, man.
Nice.
I've never seen anybody in the ring that could just talk like him.
I remember that guy.
Nothing. He would just go out and do it. And you're like, dude, you are a mastermind at that.
Love it. Yeah.
And the crowd either loved him or hated him. Well, most of the time they hated him, but that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. He's a heel. So there you go.
He's a heel. So, and he could just cut down anybody in a heartbeat, man. It was
perfect.
But I got to work with a whole lot of talented guys, man. Jody Fleischer got to work in England when he was also known as Doko Chan. Mm-hmm. Him and Christopher Daniels used to work a lot in Japan when Christopher Daniels was Curry Man.
Curry Man. He's hot and he's spicy.
Right? I don't even know what it is. That's funny as heck.
Man, I got to work with Hoofy Tugarel, which is one of my
it's amazing.
one of my idols, one of the guys that made me want to wrestle.
I think you also worked a guy named Brian Danielson. I don't know if...
yeah.
I don't know if
I did get to work Brian Danielson. And,
He's like, I don't know you.
Did I get to work with him? Yes.
Yeah. He is an amazing worker. Well, as you can see now, he's on WWE.
Yeah.
But
he's done okay.
Yeah. And yeah, right before he got there, I got to work him, and he was an amazing worker. Just super crisp and clean, and he made the match very easy because he just had that much experience in knowing what he was doing, and he easily complemented my style as I did him. It was our first time working together. I thought it was a great match. I had a great time.
Definitely. I want to have you back on, especially with one of the wrestling panel, to weigh in on stuff. I'm sure we've got a lot to talk about with your career, but this is mainly concentrated on the music, and I'm really a big fan of what you guys are doing, and I'm glad to be sharing the stage with you guys yet again in the next couple months.
Yes.
April Justice, thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you over.
Thank you once again to April Rose and Justice Maynard for just a great chat, great interview. They're really good people. It's very interesting to see the dynamic they have as being in a romantic relationship while being in a band together, and to see how their band came together, and also to kind of reminisce on how Justice and I knew each other for longer than we both realized. And it's funny how those things work out, and it's really funny how you cross paths with people in ways you don't expect. So just an amazing really amazing to be working with those guys and to be as connected to them as we are. So very proud to call them colleagues and friends. By the way, in case anyone was wondering, the song that April and I did at that show at Buchanan's, which has already come and gone, was "Close My Eyes Forever" by Lita Ford and Ozzy Osbourne, which is a classic. I'm sure many of you may know it. It was a big hit in the 80s. It seemed like the right thing to do with her voice and the way she played guitar, and it was just a really, really cool thing to do that song. I think it went over real well. Hopefully we'll get the chance to do it again, maybe with one of the bands backing us up, either my band or Auditory Armory, and we'll see. You never know what's going to happen. Now, speaking of the band, we do have several upcoming events. The first is going to be Thursday, October 20th at A Petrified Forest, which is a haunted house scare trail attraction in Altamont Springs. We will be there with the band Martyrs Asylum. Originally, it was supposed to be an acoustic gig, but there were a few changes of plans, so it's going to be a full band production between us and Martyrs Asylum there. And a week later, October 27th, which is another Thursday, we are going to be there with Auditory Armory. So come check us out if you want to see us there with April and Justice and the rest of their guys. And looking ahead a little further, on Friday, November 11th, we will be at the West End Trading Company in Sanford. We will be there along with Zombie Toe, Arakara, Kirov, and Frequencies. That is brought to you by Super Fox Promotions. And of course, later that month, Saturday, November 26th, we will be playing the Black Saturday Fest in Palm Bay at the Space Coast Harley-Davidson. We will be playing 2 acoustic sets on the second stage. Definitely come and check us out. Headlining that show will be Blackfoot, along with Boba Flex, Kellen Heller, Fit for Rivals, Oblivious Signal, Lydia Can't Breathe, Whole Wheat Bread, 21 to Burn, and Spasm. And certainly on the acoustic stage will be us, along with Jason Todd of Shinedown, former podcast guest. Joining him will be singer Tristan Mabry, and Dominic St. Charles from Earn will be on the acoustic stage as well. So definitely come out and make sure you check that out. And finally, on Friday, December 16th, we will be at The Haven back in Winter Park in Orlando. We will be there along with Inner Demons, Armada, Axiom, and No Self. There will be a Toys for Tots donation. It'll be right around Christmas time, so definitely want to make sure you come and see that. That show is being brought to you by Madam Suicide Promotions. And that is it for the Phoenix Report. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor, like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Also, feel free to check out my band at www.vertebreaker.net. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, leave a comment here on YouTube or wherever you're listening, or tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and go back and listen to all the other episodes. Thank you very much for listening. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye.